My disabled half-sister showed up at my wedding demanding her share of our dead grandmother's money. When I was 12, my alcoholic mom had another baby with her abusive boyfriend. The baby was born with fetal alcohol syndrome after mom refused to quit drinking, and my grandmother, who had been raising me since I was 8, made it crystal clear she wouldn't take another damaged child. I'm 65 years old, Sarah. I remember her telling my mom, I can barely handle one kid, let alone a special needs baby. But mom didn't care. She dumped my half-sister Emma at our house and disappear for days, sometimes weeks. I'd come home from school to find a crying, screaming toddler and my elderly grandmother, completely overwhelmed, sitting at the kitchen table with her head in her hands. I can't do this anymore, Grandma would whisper, and I'd see tears in her eyes. I became a built-in babysitter at 12 years old, missing school events, sleepovers, normal teenage stuff because someone had to watch Emma when Grandma needed to rest. Emma's disabilities meant constant supervision. She'd have violent meltdowns, couldn't be potty trained until she was 6, and required special therapy we couldn't afford. The worst part was watching my grandmother's health decline from the stress. She developed heart problems and high blood pressure, but Mom kept dumping Emma on us anyway. She's your granddaughter too, Mom would scream when Grandma tried to say no. When CPS finally stepped in and took Emma away after finding drugs in Mom's apartment, Mom showed up at our door screaming that it was my fault for turning them against her. She said if I just helped more, been a better sister, none of this would have happened. You're selfish, just like your grandmother, she spat before storming off. It was the last time I saw her. My grandmother died when I was 22, leaving me her modest house and the $30,000 she'd saved over her lifetime. I used it to put myself through college and eventually became a teacher. I hadn't seen or heard from Emma in years, though sometimes I wondered how she was doing. Fast forward to my wedding day 3 years ago. I'm walking down the aisle in my grandmother's vintage dress when I spot her, now 18, sitting in the back row with some stern-looking woman I don't recognize. My stomach drops, but I force myself to continue with the ceremony, my hands shaking as I take my fiance's hands. During the reception, just as we're cutting the cake, Emma approaches me with this woman who introduces herself as Mrs. Chandler, Emma's legal guardian and advocate. Emma looks me dead in the eyes with this entitled expression and says, I want my half of Grandma's money. It's not fair you got everything when she was my grandma too. I'm completely speechless. This girl I barely knew as a child is demanding inheritance at my own wedding, in front of all my guests who are now staring and whispering. Mrs. Chandler starts pulling out a folder, listing expenses, $200,000 in medical bills, ongoing therapy costs, special education programs, saying my grandmother morally owed Emma support and that I'd been hoarding what should have been split between us. Emma has struggled her whole life while you've been living comfortably off money that should have helped both of you, she says loudly enough for nearby tables to hear. Your grandmother abandoned her when she needed help most. My wedding guests are staring now, some looking sympathetic to Emma, others confused about what's happening. I feel my perfect day crumbling around me. I finally found my voice and said, Grandma didn't owe Emma anything. Mom's parental rights were terminated when Emma was 3. She's not legally family anymore. Mrs. Chandler's confident expression crumbled. What do you mean terminated? The court severed all legal ties when they removed Emma from Mom's custody permanently. Emma has no legal claim to our family or its assets. Emma's face went from entitled to confused to devastated. But they told me my real grandma had money, that you stole what was mine. The silence at our table was deafening. Mrs. Chandler had clearly been feeding Emma lies about some inheritance windfall that never existed, probably to justify her own fees as Emma's advocate. There was never any inheritance to split, I said gently. Grandma left $30,000 total, which barely covered my college tuition. They left quietly after that.